I kind of felt like 2017, I fell back into like my college ways a little bit. And 2017, like I wasn't training as hard and I wasn't taking football as seriously. Cause again, I'm now, 5 years in the league. I feel like I got the second contract. I felt like I was more stable, had some money in my pocket. I solidified myself in the league. And, I spent the whole offseason here in 2017. I get back to go report to the Colts. Like 3 weeks later, I get just cut out of nowhere. And so that was kind of like the beginning of like this downhill spiral for me. And I'm trying to get back to the stay ready thing. So, I go from having a great offseason in Nashville, go back to Indy, get cut. I mean, I still had 2 more years left on my contract in Indy. I get cut before the draft.
How does that work with the contract? Like,
there's no guarantee.
There's just like fine print that's like at any time we can terminate.
Do they have to pay you out for that? You got 2 years left?
I got my signing bonus. I signed a 4-year deal. The 2 years before that, got a signing bonus with that. But outside of that, like there's no signing bonus, they don't owe you nothing. And so that sideswiped me. So that's what it just was like. God showed me, hey, you need to change your ways a little bit here. And it took a few days for me to kind of get that fire back. Like I was sulking. I was, why am I getting cut? Why is this happening kind of thing? But it took a few days for me to get back into the swing of things, like get back into training and take it seriously. But, this is where like the stay ready, like hashtag came into play. And, I'd post my training videos. I had some teams at the time, calling and showing interest. And for me, it was just, I had this like long list, out of obviously take the Colts out. So 31 more teams. Yeah. Where would I want to be? And I, at the time, like I had the Packers calling me. I had other teams, Atlanta, Detroit. I had these teams that were calling me. And of course I was like, well, I definitely want to go to Green Bay. That's, Aaron Rodgers, those boys are rolling every year. And, so on my training videos, I'll just be like hashtag stay ready. So it was like, for me, like that stay, I don't know where it came from. I just started using it. But it was always and only based around like staying ready for that football opportunity.
Yeah,
right. It was like just stay ready with training. Like you need to be at your best when that phone call does come. Hopefully it does come. So I kind of just used that stay ready mindset for a while. And fortunately, I got when it came down to getting picked up, I got picked up by Jacksonville, and the worst team in the league by far. Again, this is how God works in mysterious ways. So my girlfriend and I, who's now my wife, I just broke up with her. I get signed to the worst team in the league. I go to Jacksonville, and it was weird because Jacksonville had brought me out earlier in the year. I didn't sign, but then an injury happened, and they signed me right before the season. So I'm like, my agent called. I was excited for the call. Like, all right, who's calling now? Oh, well, Jacksonville wants you back. I'm like, oh man, Jacksonville again. Gosh dang. All right, so let's go to Jacksonville. Go to there. It was one of those. You get uncomfortable going to a new locker room. It's uncomfortable. I don't know much of the city. Every time I play in Jacksonville, like, it's a half empty stadium. It's the team has just been struggling for years on end.
Long time.
It's hot, dude, in Jacksonville. It's like, dude, this place it's kind of grimy. If you're not at the beach, it's kind of grimy. And so fortunately for me, I had a nice little like condo out in Ponte Vedra, which is beautiful. And but that was my season where like God was just saying to me like, hey, if you really want this football thing, I'm going to take you somewhere where you don't want to go. So he took me to Jacksonville, Florida. And
why do you think he did that?
Well, because in Indy, it was good, right? I mean, we had a good team. I had my social influence. I had status in the city. I had my house. I had I was just there. I was comfortable. And so, God took me to the most uncomfortable place in the league. Not a good team, toxic culture. The locker room was in shambles. I don't have family close. It's the furthest away from my family. My family's all West Coast. And
so do you feel like he was kind of isolating you?
100%. So it was, and then again, my girlfriend and I had just broken up, and it was weird because she was a huge supporter for me, right? And, the day I got cut, she was one of the first people that called to check in on me. But then when I signed, I never heard from her. I never heard from her like, hey, good luck in Jacksonville. So that was always in the back of my mind, like, hey, man, like, how come Bree hasn't been following up and reaching out and whatnot? So that was kind of always on my heart. But she wasn't really on my heart at the time. And then, so, the season goes on. And again, this is God's crazy way of working things out. So I make the team. We get there. We have an unbelievable season. We go from like 2-14 to the AFC Championship the next year, the year that I'm there. Blake Bortles is balling earlier on in the season. They're like, oh, they need to trade Blake. He stinks, this, that, and the other. Well, Blake has a breakout year. We had Calais Campbell. We had Jalen Ramsey. We had all these dogs. We had, Leonard Fournette. We just had a team that was just full of dogs. But early on, like I said, when I got in the locker room, there was fights. It was just toxic, man. It was just that there had never been a, because I come from the Colts, a very traditional, the standard is high, the ownership, the management, it's a well-oiled, coming off the most winningest decade of any team, even more than the Patriots when Peyton Manning, I got there right as Peyton Manning left. So I'm in the league with a team that, like, there is culture. There is an expectation to win. And then I go to the worst team in the league. It's the complete opposite.
It's like the longest yard.
It is.
You've said that a few times on, I think, the episode I was on with you here, and I've heard you say it at MRM, but, like, what is a lot? I think I have it in my notes. Like, you've said the locker room can be a very dark place.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, people outside of that world, like, I would never think that at all. So what does that look like?
Well, to put it in terms for, like, you guys, like, just imagine, like, taking a green room.
Yeah.
Before a show, putting 90 dudes in there from all walks of life. Out of 90, you may have 5 believers in there.
Yeah.
The other 85 they're 21 years old. Some of them they're all first round draft picks. They got money in the bank. They come from nothing. Their culture is completely different. I mean, it's like, dude, you just get all walks of life thrown into a box, but you spend so much time together. So it's almost like you guys, before the show, before you go on stage, you're just partying in that box all the time. And us in that locker room, it's like we're in that locker room outside of meetings, outside of the practice and the games, we're in that locker room all the time. So you get to kind of observe and watch how people move and how they interact. And you got that group in the corner who's cliquey, and they got the gangster rap going. They got all the lockers that you walk around and you see, like, all right, who's the dirty guys, who's the clean guys, and it's like I don't ever want to be next to a locker mate who's got a dirty locker, right? I mean, like, their clothes are just stacked up there, all dirty laundry out on the floor. They got 15 pairs of cleats all over the place. Like, their house is in shambles, and you like to keep your stuff tidy. So it's like you get so many people in a small confined area, and you get to kind of see how do the leaders lead the room. What are the veterans doing? Like, it's almost like being in a prison yard. It's like, hey, like, who is the ringleader here? Mm-hmm. And Jacksonville didn't have that. Like, Calais Campbell had just got there. And again, this guy is, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but, like, we just got that guy. Jalen Ramsey was a young guy.
He's from here.
Nashville guy, just like maybe, second, third year in the league. Blake Bortles is coming off of a tough year before. So even though he's like the starting quarterback, like, I don't feel like he really felt like he could be the guy to, like, stand up and, like, keep guys in check. And again, that goes, the whole thing is like, people like to feel like their performance dictates how they walk and act and stuff like that. So if you have a bad game, it's like, oh man, like, I can't speak up today because I just played like crap on Sunday. So I feel like guys walk around with that a lot. But yeah, being in a locker room, there's a lot of lost souls in there. I mean, there's no accountability, there's no faith. Maybe the team doesn't even have, like, full-time pastoral or minister help. Fortunately for us, we had an ex-player who was played at Notre Dame, played on the Jags for a little bit, but he was our full-time, like, pastor, but he wasn't always around. And then you'd always notice when the team pastor walks in the locker rooms, like, all the iPhones, they go down. The iPads, it's like, what are you looking on what are you scrolling on, dog? Like so yeah, it's just it took me a while to realize that at the locker room, it's a lot of lost souls, and I was one of those lost souls at one point. I believed in God, but I didn't walk with the Lord in the locker room. I was still the single young guy running in those groups on the weekends or our time off. I was going out as much as I possibly could. I was drinking way too much. I was enjoying being an NFL player. Living in sin was fun. It was. And you can't tell me any differently.
Yeah, no,
it is, man.
It's careless.
It's super fun until you have a convicted spirit that knows. But when you don't,
yeah. And it took me a long time to feel that conviction. And there would be little moments throughout my life that I can look back on college, going to the NFL. Like there was moments, but I would just shake it off and move on to the next thing, But it was Jacksonville. My time at Jacksonville was really that time, like you said, isolated. Like God definitely isolated me in that moment, in that season where, I lived by myself too. I had no roommate or anything like that. So like I spent so much time on the Lord. I was so like I beforehand, like as practice was done, I would shower, I would jet out and go home. I'd go fishing. I would go barbecue, hang with some friends, whatever. In Jacksonville, like I found myself like lingering around the locker room a little longer, like, dude, I really don't want to go home because like I'm going home to nothing. I kind of want to bro out a little bit longer and fellowship more or whatever. And so I spent a lot of time with the Lord that season. And that's when, my wife, my ex-girlfriend at the time, she came back onto my heart and I started praying over her. And at the time she was, in a new relationship and that crushed me. So I was like, I was really like with the Lord all the time, praying about her. Football was like it was weird. Like football was an afterthought, like I wasn't like stressed. I wasn't like, I was having fun doing it again, which was the blessing in it. I felt no pressure to constantly like perform and seek validation from coaches and all that kind of stuff. And I just felt like I had one of my best seasons ever in 2017. And it was because of the external influence that, God had external and internal influence that God had in my life that year. And then, also like my wife, Bree, was taking up so much of my capacity in my mind because I was thinking about her all the time. Like, dude, how can I get this girl back? And it was just a while. I mean, in that season, like it led me to like growing in my faith tremendously. We had a great, like I said, we went from 2-14 to the best defense in the league. We only lost like 4 or 5 games that year. We lose to the Patriots on the road in the AFC Championship. And it was just an incredible season. And it brought Bree back into my life and we kind of rekindled that relationship. But, and now we're married with 2 kids and